Thank you all for showing up. I'm Fletcher. You guys haven't met. I just recently graduated with a Bachelor of Science, majoring in biology. And my topic throughout the 6 weeks was freshwater, more specifically water quality and how that's being managed and treated right now. So the question is, why should we care about freshwater? Well, it's the essential resource of life on this planet. As you all know, this place is called the Lake District, so there's a large amount of freshwater being held in this area. There are officially 16 lakes in the Lake District, and Lake Windermere alone holds 300 billion liters of water. To put that into perspective, if you drink a gallon of water, 4.5 liters, a day, you will roughly drink 135,000 liters of water in your entire life, which is 0.00045% of the water supply. And if you multiply that by 40,000, which is roughly the amount of people who live in the Lake District, you would have drank 1.8% of Lake Windermere's water supply. So if there's that much water in the Lake District, how are we having trouble or having this discussion about fresh water? The abundance of water isn't currently the issue. It's currently the water quality and the management of the water quality. With increasing human development and high levels of tourism, there's a significant amount of outdated infrastructure that allows raw sewage to enter the waterways, especially during large rain events when the combined sewer and stormwater systems are overrun. The other issue is due to the dispersed and rugged terrain of the landscape. There is not a single solution to catch all the runoff when a rain event occurs. The Lake District receives over 2 meters of rain annually, which is a lot of rain, and these episodic heavy rains and storm events will begin to occur more due to climate change. In addition to water quality, flood water management has entered the conversation after Storm Desmond devastated Cumbria in 2015, dropping 314 milliliters of rain in Seathwaite. The resulting damage in Keswick, Dunmail Rays, Grasmere, and Kendall have instigated new efforts to install flood control measures as well as natural flood solutions, such as re-wiggling rivers, allowing floodplains to function properly, increasing forest coverage, and adding absorbent vegetation to soak in and slow the runoff. The current infrastructure is not capable of adequately hosting a large number of tourists. Yet, the tourism industry would not be fond of a plan to reduce the numbers that enter the Lake District. Fewer tourists would result in a restriction in their income. Hospitality, such as restaurants and hostels, would see a decline, but so too would gift shops, outdoor gear stores, and cafes. The number of tourists could be reduced if there was a national park entrance fee to the Lake District, which would exempt residents. Jobs in the Lake District and in the rest of Cumbria are difficult to find, and many households and people will be forced to move elsewhere for jobs. Since there is a large push for jobs, as evidenced by the new coal mine proposed on the coast, this restriction in tourist numbers will not be accepted by the economic pushers of the Lake District. Alternatively, as a community, investing in the infrastructure to treat water with the same or higher level of tourism would be more economically sustainable. In 2021, during the recovery of the pandemic, the Lake District still managed to generate 1.35 billion pounds. So potentially the allocation of funds for water treatment is what is essential rather than altering the culturally significant landscape. United Utilities is responsible for both treating the sewage and supplying drinking water to the area, yet they are private. Which means they are a for-profit company with shareholders that are motivated by reducing costs and increasing profit. Trees and natural ecosystems provide a dual benefit of improving water quality and of runoff and reducing the rate of flow during large rain events, a natural mitigation for flooding. In their place, native trees are well supported by most groups in the Lake District, including shepherds that receive an ecosystem payments or subsidies, and those in conservation groups that desire to see modest changes in the landscape. To some, the increase of trees would ruin the picturesque landscape that earned the Lake District the UNESCO World Heritage Cultural status. The landscape with sheep pastures and lakes is the reason this landscape is considered significant. So is there a reason to plant trees and begin to alter the landscape? Also, changing the composition of the landscape could threaten the heritage status, which would decrease the overall number of tourists, which would in turn harm the tourism industry in the Lake District. But I believe that reducing the number of tourists allowed to visit the Lake District, improving and modernizing the sewer treatment facilities, and improving biodiversity will be an effective and natural way to improve water quality and reduce the potential of catastrophic flooding to occur. One major landscape change could be introducing fenced-off floodplains. The fencing ruins the picturesque value with these divided sections of land. Even environmentally driven groups are against fences, such as Friends of the Lake District. The other major landscape change would be more trees. This has pros and cons to it, of course. The cons would be the labor to plant thousands of trees and then protecting them from the sheep. The sheep are particularly fond of saplings, so it's very difficult to effectively plant trees without fencing or a guard of some sort. Chris Hodgson, aka Hog, is the tenant farmer for the Rydal Valley, which is a very large sheep pasture. Even Hog is aware of the impacts and importance of tree planting. He has been planting hundreds of trees throughout his landscapes, mentioning the importance of trees for holding the land together and diversifying his landscape. And he is appreciative for the subsidies he receives for improving his landscape. Wordsworth says, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her, 'tis her privilege through all the years of our life to lead from joy to joy, along with, and what perceive, well pleased to recognize, in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thought, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart, and soul of all my moral being. That comes from Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey. Wordsworth explains how nature is grounding of thought for humans, and we need nature in our lives. With the changes in this world's climate, there's also a need to change our view on many environmental impacts. Is it time to attempt to go back to the views of nature through a similar lens of Wordsworth? Sorry, I lost myself. As climate change is becoming increasingly apparent, the environment around us is changing. The storms and heavy rain events will be becoming more frequent, so having more trees in the soil will help reduce these effects of these events. Another solution, as mentioned before, is to increase the number of floodplains. It will significantly improve how the Lake District can handle large rain events. In Ennerdale, Jamie Normington and Gareth Brown came out to explain to us some of the changes that are in the process of Wild Ennerdale. One of the changes that struck me was the reintroduction of beavers. Don't worry, they are not carnivorous. The benefit of the beavers is that they create floodplains off of the rivers. Where there is a lot of water in a storm, it gives the water an option to escape rather than to continue down the channelized area. The other benefit to Ennerdale is the River Liza. It is one of the few rivers that hasn't been channelized. Sorry, there was the beaver slide, I missed it, I forgot. Here's the River Liza. Channelized in a natural floodplain in the riverbed, as you can see. Oh, it's not giving me the option to click it, so I'll just let it go. But it has a natural floodplain in the riverbed. It gives the river room to expand when there's significantly more water. The other terminology here is known as rewiggling, which is one of the best flood management plans that many people are in favor of doing and is beginning to happen more and more. For example, as Gabe mentioned, Lee Schofield and Haweswater with RSPB has de-channelized the river in one of his valleys. The river is now naturally snakes and maneuvers through the hay meadows in the valley. Lee has also created a wetland/floodplain further down the river. This is an effective habitat for fish, and he has started to see the appearance of them more, and has helped reduce the flood issues in the valley significantly. Can I still? Okay, sweet. Sorry, that was... More recently, the Love Save Windermere movement has arisen the most awareness. The significant amount of pollution is causing blue and green algae spikes due to the phosphorus entering the water system. The phosphorus comes from the lack of an updated, maintained sewage infrastructure. An indication of poor water quality is the lack of fish species present. Arctic char and Atlantic salmon were historically seen. There had been significant decline in the population due to poor water quality, non-ideal temperatures, habitat loss and fragmentation, and these algae blooms. The fish cannot survive in the algae blooms because the algae takes all the oxygen in the water, leaving the fish to die under the green haze, sadly like this fellow over here. Mentioned earlier, United Utilities is in charge of treating the water, and they haven't been doing the best job at it. Wherever there is heavy rainfall, they have to open the mixed water storage of rainfall and sewage that then gets released into Lake Windermere. That has caused a major uproar with the people living in the area. So there's a more urgent need to reconfigure and update the sewage system in Windermere, at least. Kath Smith from South Cumbria River Trust mentioned during COVID lockdown there's a significant improvement in water quality and the environment as a whole. During one of our days, we let nature be our teacher, as you can read on everyone's shirt. While in Keswick, I was talking to a bunch of locals, and they also mentioned that there was a significant improvement in the environment and did notice less algae blooms in the news when the rain was occurring. This was produced from the restriction of second home access and tourism. I can't say that there is one solution to this problem, as it is extremely complex and difficult to manage. But there needs to be more effective ways of managing our human impact on the environment around us. We need to figure out a better way to reduce the sediment and chemicals entering the water systems, which I believe is done by increasing biodiversity and allowing natural floodplains to do their jobs. These algae blooms are natural, but shouldn't be occurring as frequently as they are. So we need to figure out a way to update the infrastructure of the sewage system to keep up with tourism or reduce the number of tourists in order to reduce the amount of waste being generated here. And I will leave you all with this quote from John Ruskin. Nature is painting for us day after day, pictures of infinite beauty if we only have the eyes to see them. He's implying that we need to take care and invest in protecting nature and be aware of the impact we have on our environment. We have to open our eyes and be aware that we're destroying the natural world. That natural beauty can quickly slip away if we aren't careful. Thank you.